How a sweet tooth successfully reduced blood sugar without giving up sweets. Introduction. Have you ever caught yourself thinking, why on earth can't I kick this sweet habit? While your doctor's pointing at those frightening blood test results. Just picture it. That pang of guilt every time you savor a piece of chocolate. That nagging fear that each bite is pushing you closer to diabetes. The utter frustration of trying diets that rob you of life's little pleasures. Hey, if you're watching this video, you've probably been down this road before. And you know what's truly interesting? You're not walking this path alone. I was right where you are now. Completely hooked on sweets, with alarming blood sugar levels, and unable to imagine life without that slice of pie after dinner. But today, my blood sugar levels are under control. And no, I didn't have to completely abandon my sweet treats. If you're dying to discover how I manage this, stick with me for the next few minutes. I'll share the strategy that transformed my health without turning my life into a flavorless nightmare. And before you think, oh great, another one of those videos with miracle promises, let me tell you, what I'm about to share is rooted in solid science. We'll truly understand how sugar affects your body and, more importantly, how you can occasionally enjoy your favorite treats without sending your blood sugar through the roof. If this content is already ringing a bell for you, do me a favor and drop a like on this video. Each like helps this knowledge reach more people who desperately need this information. The basic understanding. First, let's wrap our heads around what we're trying to control here. What's considered a normal blood sugar level? Traditionally, doctors say fasting blood sugar after about 12 hours without eating should fall between 70 and 100 milligrams per deciliter. When you enter the range between 101 and 125 milligrams per deciliter, that's already considered prediabetes. Above 126 milligrams per deciliter while fasting, that's a full-blown type 2 diabetes diagnosis. But here's the crucial point many professionals don't clearly explain. These are the normal numbers for the general population. The problem is that what we call normal nowadays should actually be called common. Shocking, isn't it? A whopping 88% of the population has some level of insulin resistance. It means that what's considered normal today is in reality a red flag that something's already amiss. Now, pay close attention to this. When we talk about truly healthy numbers, the range is much tighter. A genuinely healthy fasting blood sugar should be between 80 and 90 milligrams per deciliter. And here's another revelation that changed my life. After a meal, your sugar shouldn't skyrocket like a 4th of July firework. For someone who's truly healthy, post-meal blood sugar should stay between 90 and 110 milligrams per deciliter, with very little variation from fasting levels. So when we see those charts showing sugar spikes at 170 or 200 milligrams per deciliter after a meal being classified as normal, we need to understand that's not optimal. That's just common in a population that consumes ridiculous amounts of processed carbs. If you're blown away by this information, share this video with that friend or family member who also needs to hear this. Knowledge is power, especially when we're talking about health. The real villain. Now let's talk about what really causes those blood sugar spikes. Most folks think they just need to avoid table sugar to control their blood glucose. Big mistake. The truth is that all carbohydrates transform into glucose in your body. Let me break this down for you. Glucose is that 6-carbon molecule floating in your bloodstream, what we call blood sugar. Most carbohydrates we consume are simply chains of these glucose molecules linked together. As soon as you put a piece of bread in your mouth, an enzyme called salivary amylase already starts breaking these bonds. Later, other enzymes finish the job, releasing glucose molecules to enter the bloodstream. That's why foods like potatoes, rice, and bread raise blood sugar very, very quickly, sometimes even faster than pure white sugar. But here's the most important part. Table sugar, sucrose, is 50% glucose and 50% fructose. While glucose can be utilized by all body cells, fructose can only be processed by the liver. And that's where the danger lies. When you consume 100 grams of flour, your body receives 100 grams of glucose. But if you consume 100 grams of sugar, that's 50 grams of glucose and 50 grams of fructose. Those 50 grams of fructose overload your liver, and what it can't process turns into fat. This is the number one cause of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. In the past, only alcoholics developed fatty liver. Today, fructose is causing this condition in people who've never touched a drop of alcohol in their lives. If this information is changing your perspective on nutrition, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell. I share content like this every week. Insulin resistance, the big culprit. Understanding insulin resistance was the game changer for me. It was as if a light switch had been flipped in my head. Here's what happens. When you eat, especially carbohydrates, your blood sugar rises. Your body releases insulin to help that sugar leave the bloodstream and enter the cells. If your diet consists mainly of healthy fats, your blood sugar barely rises, and you need little insulin. But if you gulp down that soda packed with high fructose corn syrup, your sugar shoots up, and your body needs to release a massive amount of insulin to deal with it. And now comes the critical part. Doing this occasionally isn't a problem. But when you do it every day, several times a day, your cells start saying, "Hey, we've got enough sugar already. Stop pushing more into us." That's how your cells become resistant to insulin. They literally start ignoring insulin's signal. The result? Your sugar stays in your blood longer, your pancreas produces even more insulin, and you enter a vicious cycle of high sugar, high insulin, more insulin resistance, even higher sugar. The saddest part is that many people only discover they have a problem when it's already too late. Know why? Because doctors typically only measure blood sugar, not insulin. Picture this. In the early years, your sugar is normal, but your insulin is already elevated, working overtime to keep that sugar under control. Years later, your insulin has quadrupled, but your sugar still looks normal in tests. And then suddenly the machine breaks down. Your sugar spikes, and now you're diagnosed with diabetes. But how did this happen? I didn't change anything in my diet. That's exactly what many people think when they receive the diagnosis. They don't realize the problem had been developing for 20 years. Here's the good news. Although it may take decades to develop serious insulin resistance, you can reverse much of the damage in just a few months with the right strategies. If you're enjoying these explanations and want to know exactly how to reverse this process, leave a comment saying, "I want to know more," and I'll consider making a special series on this topic. My strategy to lower blood sugar without completely giving up sweets. Now let's get to the nitty-gritty. How did I manage to reduce my blood sugar without completely giving up sweets? Step 1. Eliminate added sugar in daily life. The first thing I did was completely eliminate added sugar from my daily diet. That means no sodas, no commercial juices, no cream-filled cookies, no sugar in coffee. But didn't you say you continued eating sweets? Yes, and we'll get there. The point is, I eliminated sugar from my daily routine to save my sugar quota for special moments when it was really worth it. Step 2. Drastically reduce refined carbohydrates. As we learned, all carbohydrates turn into blood sugar. So I drastically reduced consumption of white bread, white rice, pasta, potatoes, and other high glycemic carbohydrates. Instead, I significantly increased consumption of non-starchy vegetables, leafy greens, broccoli, cauliflower, zucchini, cucumber, etc. These foods have very few carbohydrates, 2 to 4%, and lots of water and fiber, which means the few carbohydrates they contain are absorbed very slowly. Result? Much smaller insulin spikes. Step 3. Increase healthy fats and proteins. I replaced carbohydrates with healthy fats and proteins. Olive oil, avocado, nuts, eggs, fish, all these foods have minimal impact on blood sugar. Fats have virtually no direct effect on blood sugar. Proteins have a small impact, as they can convert to glucose, but it's a much slower and gentler process. Step 4. Intermittent fasting. This was the secret that supercharged all my other efforts. I started practicing intermittent fasting, eating only within an 8-hour window each day. During fasting, you're not consuming food, so there's no stimulus for insulin production. This gives your body time to naturally reduce insulin levels and begin to recover insulin sensitivity. After a few weeks of practicing intermittent fasting, I noticed my fasting sugar began to consistently fall into the 80 to 90 mg/dl range. Step 5. Daily gentle exercise. I added daily 30 to 45-minute walks to my lifestyle. Why gentle exercise and not intense? Because intense exercise, while it has its benefits, can temporarily increase blood sugar due to cortisol release and muscle glycogen breakdown. Gentle exercise, on the other hand, primarily burns fat and helps your muscles absorb glucose without needing insulin. Active muscles are like sponges for blood sugar. If you're digging these practical tips, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. Each new subscriber motivates me to bring more quality content like this. How I incorporated sweets into my life without ruining my health. Now comes the part everyone's been waiting for. How did I manage to include sweets in my life without harming my blood sugar? Rule 1. Sweets only as exception, not as rule. The first thing to understand is that sweets became occasional in my life, not daily. I reserve them for special moments, a birthday, a get-together with friends I haven't seen in a while, an important celebration. Rule 2. Quality above quantity. When I decide to eat something sweet, I choose high-quality items that are truly worth every calorie. No cheap chocolates or processed desserts. I prefer a small piece of an artisanal dessert or quality dark chocolate. Rule 3. Never on an empty stomach. I discovered that the impact of a sweet treat on my blood sugar is much lower when I consume it after a meal rich in protein and fats. Fiber, protein, and fats slow down the absorption of sugar. I never eat sweets on an empty stomach. That's just asking for a blood sugar spike. Rule 4. Movement after the sweet. After consuming something sweet, I try to take a small 15 to 20-minute walk. This helps my muscles absorb some of that sugar without needing as much insulin. Rule 5. Compensation on following days. If I know I'm going to a party where I'll probably eat sweets, I make compensations on the days before and after. I reinforce fasting, reduce carbohydrates even more, and increase exercise time. The result? I can keep my blood sugar under control even while occasionally including sweets in my life. What I learned on this journey. One of the biggest lessons I've learned is that our body is incredibly adaptable. When you spend weeks following a low glycemic diet, your body becomes more sensitive to insulin. This means that occasionally you can afford to eat something sweeter without your sugar spiking as much as it would have before. Another important lesson, insulin resistance doesn't appear overnight, and it doesn't disappear overnight either. It's a gradual process that requires consistency. Finally, I understood that we don't need to be perfect all the time. The pursuit of perfection often leads to failure. Instead, adopting a sustainable lifestyle with clear but flexible rules is what really works in the long run. If you're loving this balanced approach and want to see more content like this, subscribe to the channel right now. For every 1,000 new subscribers, I'll make a special video with low glycemic recipes that satisfy that sweet craving. Conclusion: reducing blood sugar without completely giving up sweets is possible, but it requires understanding, strategy, and consistency. Remember the main points we discussed. 1. Understand that all carbohydrates transform into sugar in your body. 2. Focus on reducing insulin resistance, not just sugar. 3. Eliminate added sugar from your daily life. 4. Drastically reduce refined carbohydrates. 5. Increase consumption of healthy fats and proteins. 6. Try intermittent fasting. 7. Practice gentle exercise daily. 8. Reserve sweets for special occasions. 9. When eating sweets, follow the rules I shared. If you consistently implement these strategies, you'll see significant changes in your blood sugar levels in a matter of weeks or months. Remember, we're not talking about a temporary diet, but a lifestyle change that allows you to have both health and pleasure. Now it's your turn. Tell us in the comments, which of these strategies will you start implementing today? Or if you've already tried some of them, share your experience. If this video helped you, don't forget to leave a like, share with someone who needs this information, and subscribe to the channel for more life-transforming content through health knowledge. Until the next video, and remember, health isn't just the absence of disease, but the presence of vitality.